Hi, welcome to Kitty Witty Papercraft. I'm Amy, and in this video I am sharing a patriotic junk journal that I just finished. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me say that I wasn't sure if I was going to sell this journal or not. Not because I had grown attached to it or anything, but I put more than double the amount of time into making this one than I normally do. And when I got to the end and I added up all my costs, I thought, wow, I'm not going to be able to recoup most of my labor time for this without asking a really high price. So I thought maybe I would just keep it. But my intention was to sell this one, and I usually don't keep the journals that I make. I sell them, so I am going to go ahead and sell this one. I thought about doing an auction for it, but I think I'm just going to put it in my shop and put a price on it and just kind of let it be that. So I am going to sell this journal, and I'm going to put it in my shop tonight. I figured I'm doing the video today. I might as well just list it in my shop tonight. So it's Monday, July 29th, and I'm going to put the listing live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I figured that would be a little bit of a better time for West Coast. So that's when it will be available. And the price on this one is going to be $250. So it's a lot lower than what I would ask if I was trying to cover all of my costs that went into this, but it's a good bit higher than what I normally charge for my journals. My journals are usually $185 to $195. But I think you'll see in this one there is a lot more in here than I normally do. And like I said, I've got more than double the amount of time spent on this one than what I usually do. So there's my justification. If you have any questions, of course, as I go through this, after you watch the video, please let me know down in the comment section below. So, okay, let's start with the cover. I'm going to mention really quickly something about this cover. There's a couple flags on here that I know are controversial, and I sort of hesitated using this cover just for that reason. But honestly, what I really loved about the cover was the color combination. If you follow me, you know that I love color, and I use a lot of color in my journals. And what I really loved about this one is this turquoise blue background. And I really wanted to do like kind of a non-traditional red, white, and blue. So the blue being turquoise instead of navy. And I love the way turquoise looks with red and white. So you can see it here in the tassel, and then you'll see throughout there's lots of touches of this turquoise color, in addition to the navy blue too. So I decided to use the cover anyway. I just wanted to mention that I am sensitive to that being on the cover. You know, this book was written in, I think, the 50s. And anyway, I just wanted to mention that, you know, just so you know that I am aware of that, not, you know, completely oblivious to that fact. So this journal has a 2-inch spine, and I'm trying not to move the charms around too much before I show them to you. Let me do the charms first, actually, and then I will show you the cover. So I had a lot of fun making the tassel for this one. I got these charms specifically for this journal. So there's a whole bunch of red, white, and blue charms. There's some vintage buttons on here and lots of little star charms, different kinds of little stars. I love star motifs, and I thought stars were obviously appropriate for this journal. And then there's this little July 4th little word beads on there also. And then of course the vintage yarn, and these are all 3 colors were all vintage. I was able to get all of this in the vintage yarns, and then some ribbons. So this is a 2-inch spine journal, and it's got fabric on the back. So this is a vintage calico, and this rickrack is also vintage. I think this floral fabric, this is a fabric also. I don't believe that's vintage. And I usually use gift wrap on my spines, but I could not find a vintage gift wrap for this particular journal that I really was happy with. So I decided to use fabric, and honestly, fabric is perfect for spines because it's really sturdy. A lot of the vintage gift wrap is very thin, and it's really tricky to work with when you cover the outside of the spine especially. So I actually was happy using the fabric on this one. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust these charms before we go inside. So yeah, so it's a 2-inch wide spine, and it's pretty full. This is probably the biggest journal I've made. It has 5 signatures like I usually use, and it also has about 160 pages, which is what I do on these little golden book journals. But it's got tons of ephemera in it, so it's really chunked up, and but it still lays, you know, flat when it's closed. So inside, and part of what is making this journal be kind of chunky is these little game piece that I attached to the front to spell USA. So that's definitely making it a little bit chunky. So there's just some little, there's all kinds of stuff in here. There's vintage pieces. This is a little vintage flag, and this is just a printable that I thought was cute. There's a vintage postcard, and there's lots of trims. I think I trimmed out every scrapbook paper page in here with just a variety of different kinds of tabs. And you'll see as we flip through the pages, and there's 3 different pom-pom trims in the turquoise, white, and red colors. So I'm just going to take you through and show you what's inside. So we've got a little sequin mix bag here, and a vintage playing card, and some tickets, and a library card. And I included a lot of pages from this book in here. I believe there's at least 5 pages from the book inside of this journal. And this is a fun new envelope. So it's similar in style to the sewing pattern envelopes, but this one actually had transfers in it. And I just love the colors in this one. And I added a couple little of my little calico critters that I love that had some appropriate colors. So all of the envelopes and pockets in here all have things in it for you. This one has an index card and just some Monopoly money. Every pocket has something different inside of it. And it's going to take a while to go through all the pockets and things in this one, so I'm trying to kind of keep it moving along here. I love this typewriter paper. This is new. It has blue stripes on it, and I also have some that has red stripes. So see that in here. It's another page from that book. Some writing paper, map paper, and I created a couple pockets here, and this part right here was just blank, so I just filled that in with fabric washi and the baby pom-pom trim. And this really neat envelope. This is vintage, and it came to me folded like this, so I just kind of included that just like it was. And this little stamp is actually embossed on there. So this is an 8-cent airmail envelope, and then you can just, I left this one blank, but you can use that to hide your journaling in, store mementos. And then got a label and a time card. It's red on the back, blue on the front, and some vintage tickets. I will go back through and arrange all the pockets so they look nice for the recipient. I love this cookbook page. I thought the colors were perfect for this book, and you know, the cherry pie, and we'll pretend this is, yeah, it probably is apple pie because there's apples right there. So I thought that was appropriate. And then the flag and the eagle on that side of it, and there's the cherry pie. So there's some tickets. I've had this for a while, this neat little Target. And this is a label, ammonia label, that's vintage. And then this vintage guest check here. And a vintage coaster. This is from my favorite Vintage Sewing Pattern catalog, the counter catalog. Love her outfit. This is just a clear overlay with stars on it. This little clip has some red, white, and blue vintage yarn on it, and this is going to get really fuzzy. This was really old yarn, and it's very kind of like loose and fuzzy, but that doesn't bother me. I think it's kind of fun. It looks, kind of reminds me of like little fireworks coming off the top there. This pocket I made out of denim, and it's got a flashcard. I tried to use flashcards that have either 7s, like for the month of July, or 4s on them. And this side has 4 and that has 7, so it just kind of was lucky there. And there's a, from a date book, a little July calendar, and another little calico critter. And this is actually a sticker, so you could stick that down somewhere in here. I love the images in this book. The illustrations are really beautiful. There's lots of little parade images in here. Postulette. And there's a bunch of little, these are printables of vintage postcard images. So there's several of these throughout the journal, and they're blank on the back, so you can journal on the back of those, or just use them as decorations. This is one of my favorite things I got for this project. This is vintage trim, and it's 2 inches wide. It's really thick, and it's really soft, and I used it to make a pocket here. And you've got a library card and a flash card. This is another one of the printable little postcard images. And there's a button card that you can also use as a journaling card. And then some vintage tickets. But I love, love, love this trim. And then this was also some trim I got from the same seller. And if you can see, it's dimensional. It's really thick. Also, just kind of unique. And there's some vintage labels in here. This is not vintage, I don't believe. But just little spots for journaling on. Some handwriting paper, that's vintage. That's the other side of that overlay. And this is the snap card that I turned into a tag. And on the back is a little pocket. And you've got some little postcard images, or image, and this little dog, and some tickets. You could put a photo back there. And I believe this paper clip is also vintage. This was in something that I bought from a vintage seller, and I just added it to this journal. And on this page, this is kind of silly, maybe, but this is just some fabric. It is Swiss dot, red and white Swiss dot, and I just added it as like a little flip spot, and you can, you know, put something hidden underneath there. So that's just there just kind of for fun. This is a doily printable from Bella Blvd on Etsy. And there's a pocket here made from some vintage fabric and a bingo card. And I love these labels, these true blue labels. The colors on this are awesome. And then some more tickets in here. More pie recipes. This seed packet here. I can't even remember what I put in the different envelopes and packets. Some little tickets, and that is stuck there. A Denison label and some vintage seals. I will put all that back inside when we're finished. I love these cute little fabrics, the little ships with the little anchors on it. And right here, this was a little flap of an edge of one of the pages, one of the book pages, wrapped around the signature. And I just added a cardstock bingo card on this side and a gift bag on the other side that has the red, white, and blue colors on it. And actually between the bingo card and the bag is a space, so you can use that as a pocket. So I just put in this index card that is red and blue on the reverse. And then on this side, of course, you can use the bag. And this is actually a playing card that I thought was really unique. It's got this neat image on it, and it's big. This is bigger than a standard playing card. So that is in this pocket here. This is actually a coloring book page. Did we even see that on the other side? I guess I didn't mention it, but oh, I'm always bad at going back and finding the pages. But this is a coloring book page. There's a bird on the top half of that. And this is another little printable. It's really cute little images on it. And there's some airmail stamps and another bingo, one of the thick cardstock bingo cards. And this eyelet here is vintage. And this parcel post label is vintage. And so is a flash card, of course. I'm not sure about this. This just came in a kit that I bought, but I thought that went well with the journal, obviously. I love this image. This is probably my favorite page from the book. Just this little parade. And I love how you can see the little stars. This is the paper that's lining the spine. And you can kind of see that right there when you're looking at this page. It kind of like offsets it nicely. And this is the red striped typing paper. It's really thick. It's really nice. And this is an applique. So that would be something fun to stick down on a page. And this sewing pattern envelope, I chose this one for the colors, the red, white, and blue, and it was in pretty bad shape. So I had to really doctor it up with fabric washi, but that should make it pretty sturdy now. And there's a plain card and an index card and another Denison label. Denison has all those like red lined framed labels. They're just great. Just the perfect shade of red. So on the other side of this ledger paper, I put this wallpaper paper pocket. I love this wallpaper. I have one little scrap left to make a pocket, but that is vintage wallpaper, and got a flash card. And this is just a nice scrap from the book. And I want to show you what's inside of this little glassine envelope. And I will put all this back together, but there's quite a bit in this envelope. So the Denison label, food label. It's just a airmail label. These little stars are Denison stars, so little stick-on stars. Some milk cap. There's some stamps. The stamp says July 4th, 1959, I think. That's a canning jar label. Stamp. And I thought this was really fun. So this is obviously vintage. LBJ for the USA. It's one of those little things, if you move it, the image changes. And then I'm not going to take these out, but they're little stickers, little foil stickers, and it spells USA, and then there's more Denison stars down in there. So that is all tucked in this little glassine envelope. And I will fool with putting all of that back at the end, so you guys don't have to watch me fiddle with that. And that was clipped right on this pocket here. I love these envelopes. I love the font. It's very mid-century modern, and the colors I thought looked great in this journal. And there's just a few little things tucked in there. And this side, this edge of the book page made a pocket. So there's a little printable with another one of those sweet little vintage images. And then this pocket has, let's see, a little like tea bag label and some labels. These actually came off of guest checks, but because of the red, white, and blue, I wanted to include those. This is a food label and a price ticket, another milk cap, and a red label. So I will put all that back later. And this is the other side of the sewing pattern envelope, and it was already open. This one, was, like I said, was in really bad shape, so I just added some fabric washi to firm it up a little bit. And this has a Rolodex card, library card, and one of the vintage postcard images in it. Yankee Doodle children's songbook. And these are some vintage buttons in a really pretty shade of blue. This is actually a playing card, a round playing card. And this little cat bag has some little tickets and some vintage stamps in it. And this is an airmail envelope. And yeah, there's some stuff on the other side, but let me go ahead and take that off. And there's some vintage handwriting paper and a claim check. Another one of these cute little printables and a ticket and a tag inside of this envelope. I love this airmail envelope. It's really, it's kind of thin, but it's like that really crisp parchment paper. And then on this side, this has already come off. I had, let's see, these guys were underneath of the envelope. So yeah, this was just kind of all clipped on here. There's a little scripture piece and a sale tag. And this is a page from one of those coupon saver books, and I just love the colors on that one. So that is on this page. Let me just put the paper clip back on there. It's another sweet page from that book. And then over here is a little doily pocket. This is from a game. This is some vintage trim here. Another little scripture card. And this page I turned into a pocket, and it just has a alterations tag inside of it. This is another little pocket here, some vintage notebook filler paper in it, and another little postcard image. And this last page is a pocket with a postcard image and a library card, and this came from a field guide on birds. An eagle, obviously. And I left this intentionally blank. I was going to do something with this area, but I thought this would be a great spot for journaling, or you could maybe add some photos or washi tape or ribbon or something there. So that will be fun to decorate. So that brings us to the end. And I thank you so much for checking this out. And like I said, if you have any questions about it, if there's something that you want to know about it or where I got something, just let me know. Most of my vintage items come from Etsy or local vintage shops. So yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for checking this out, and I will catch up with you guys soon. Take care.